I know that as well as I do now, that all North America, right, must at length be annexed to us. I want to marinate on that. It took them 100 years to settle the land. Let's get into it. So let's jump right in this video. James Oglethorpe arrived on the coast of Georgia in 1733 with 114 survivors of that trip. Right here, right? And when they got here, the Yamaquaw natives were right there in Savannah, and they created a legions. They didn't come in with guns. They didn't come in with troops and ships and all that. No, they came in with a small settlement of people, and they created an allegiance with them with trade. You know what I mean? Things like that. Learn the lay of the land. Had scouts in the area. And if you notice all these lines are waterways. By the way, these are all rivers. All right, this is Altamaha, comes on down. The Savannah River Road runs along here. You see what I'm saying? Like these are all rivers. And as you can see, 1733, it took them, shit, you think about it, look at it. The next one is what? 1756. It took them 24 years just to get the coast, just to get Jekyll Island and St. Simon and Cumberland, right? It took them what? 70 years just to get right here. Because this water, where the Altamaha River comes out, this is big. It took them 70 years. Here you go right here. It took them 40 years to get right here. It took them 30 years to go from here to here. It took them 70 years to get to Milledgeville. So think about it, right? And you think about it, there you go again. You're talking about almost 100 years to get west of the Okmulgee, right? Look at, to get up here, it took them 100 years to get this. 100 years to get the whole state of Georgia. And then people say, well, they was in Jamestown, Virginia. I got some for that too. Let me show you. This is a 1600 map. All this is native land. These were native inhabitants, right? And you know how long it took them to take Virginia or take Jamestown itself? It took them about 40 years. When they first got down here to Jamestown, Jamestown is right around here somewhere. It took them 40 years to just get this. It took them 100 years to get the whole state of Virginia, or just the core of Virginia. They didn't even get the whole thing. The Anglo-Powhatan Wars were a series of conflicts between the English colonists and the Virginia colony and the Powhatan Confederacy. That's another key word, man. You see that word a lot. The natives were the Confederates, a powerful allegiance of Abercorn speaking indigenous people. These wars shaped early colonial indigenous relations and determined control of the tidewater regions of the 17th century. And look, when they came over here, they put their backs against the coast and they built forts. The forts were built to keep the natives safe from, keep the early settlers safe from the natives. Even in Georgia, Fort Hawkins, Fort Wilkerson, that's where they stayed. They just wasn't out here roaming, building plantations. It was an ongoing war from the time they reached these shores until they took over in the early 1800s. So even from 1600 all the way up to 1800, it was constant war. It was constant war, and that's the part we don't get taught. That's the part they don't teach us. And not only was it constant wars, there were established civilizations. Y'all been to Chastain Park before? I was looking at this. I'm like, man, this got to be something, ancestral or whatever, right? I said, let me go look at Chastain Park. And that is, the land was originally home of the Creek Indians. Near Flood Spain, Nancy Creek. And here go Buckhead, man. It's all Buckhead. This pretty much Atlanta. This you got Henry County over here, and this is Alabama over here. All this is Creek native land, Atlanta. Atlanta was key too. And if you notice, look at the river systems, right? This is the Chattahoochee, and this is I think, Tupperloosa River. And it works like the Okmulgee, this works like the Oconee, but just on the north side of Georgia. Crazy, right? But look, they surrounded them, and they took them forever. This the last section of the land they had to get in North Georgia. Crazy. Like this is a war in down in South America. The Spaniards, look at it, they had 3 to 4,000 military personnel. Look, 600 Indian archers. This is the British. They come over with 30,000, 29 ships, all kind of shit. All right, let me show you something else. This is up in Jamestown, Virginia. The territorial clause, and this had something to do with Dred Scott. And I also found out the Dred Scott case had a lot to do with the land, and we'll get into that a little later. But I want you to read what this Governor Morris in 1803 said.